there's a movement going on, Anthony, in this country. I've noticed it. You look around the country, you start to see, okay, decades ago, a lot of the population moved south. Decades before that, a lot of the population moved to the west. And now I'm seeing a lot of people from Ohio move to the great state of Michigan. And before you get angry about that, to the listeners out there, because, we don't necessarily want them coming up here. I think we do want some of them probably coming up here, at least Michigan fans do. Roddy Gale Jr., going from Ohio State to the University of Michigan on Dusty May's basketball team. Tony Alford, 9 years at Ohio State as the running backs coach, was the assistant head coach. He comes to Michigan now as the new running backs coach and run game coordinator. And another, Aaron Dunston, who was Ohio State's senior assistant athletic director, assistant athletic director for football recruiting and events. She joins the University of Michigan staff now as the director of operations. Anthony, there's a movement going on in this country. Like I said, Ohio to Michigan, it's a new pipeline.
Well, so much about our current socioeconomic situation is that you want to better yourself and you want to put yourself in a situation where, one, you can make a lot of money, and two, your hard work is appreciated. And lo and behold, it's been the off season of Ohio State to Michigan defectees. And now some of the people down there, including, again, I don't have a whole lot of love in my heart for really other outlets in general, but Barstool Sports, there was a blogger over there that just had a complete and total meltdown over the amount of Ohio State talent that's been heading to Michigan.
You know his name? Ohio's Tate.
What is it? Ohio's Tate?
His name's Tate, and it's Ohio's Tate.
Oh,
so that guy had a meltdown. It's the most predictable thing ever.
And you're in it, by the way. There's a cameo of your Twitter or your X account in his blog. So it's pretty much, and again, I poke fun. I think that the way he feels is probably the way a lot of Ohio State fans feel at the moment, where it's one of those, well, if they weren't willing to stick around here, then, they're not loyal and they'll turn on Michigan, whatever. But didn't we kind of do this on the flip side of it a couple of years ago when Greg Madison goes to Columbus and Al Washington goes to Columbus? So this has happened before. Again, I think that credit to Sharon Moore, credit to Michigan. That they are identifying talent, and whether it's from Ohio State, it's twisting the knife when it comes from Ohio State. But, to me, again, it's you just want to hire good people and get them in place. And the thing about Ohio State is that they've been very successful there. So, there are a lot of, when people, they just kind of bemoan and throw, as these people go out the door, they throw tomatoes at them. But, Tony Alford has been a big part in why Ohio State has been successful on the field. Aaron Dunston has been a very big part of why they've been successful, on the recruiting trail and some of the other things that they've done. So to me, it's a conviction of hiring good people away and selling them on what your vision is. And I don't think it's anything petty. I don't think these people at Ohio State are leaving because they don't feel appreciated. I think it really reflects on the appreciation and the monetary sort of stamp that Michigan is putting on bringing those people here. So for as much of a meltdown as there's been, we have seen this on both sides of the rivalry before. Again, it's just, people are going to react the way that they react. And I continue to like the moves that Sharon and his staff have made to kind of, a lot of what they're doing operationally is the same, but there's been an expansion of the recruiting department, and, they've backfilled some roles in, their front office, so to speak. So, again, it's when you lose good people, you have to bring good people in. And maybe, again, this is nothing on the people that left, but sometimes you have to shoot for even bigger people when you have that type of talent that leaves. So, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know a ton about what Aaron Dunston brings to the position. I know her sister has been part of the women's basketball team at Michigan, so there is a tie there. But again, it's on June 12th. What a storyline, what a meltdown to see. And it's, again, all this praise. There's been nothing but praise for Ohio State all offseason, but it sticks in their craw like no other that their people have decided to to move north of the state line, which it's just objectively a better place to live. So
it is
objectively.
And the summer is a great time to come on up here and enjoy it for sure. A couple things. One, it's probably not a devastating loss for Ohio State, but two, she definitely did a good job. Mike Pantoni, their general manager of player personnel, called her a rock star when she was helping with the recruiting. Like I said, she was the assistant athletic director for football recruiting and events. She spent 3 seasons before that, before being promoted as their director of on-campus recruiting. I think she'll probably help out there for Michigan as well. Kaylee Johnson, Will Johnson's older sister, and really beyond that, I think just a really good staff member is handling that for Michigan right now, but she can certainly help, having experience in a role like that. And by the way, Kaylee Johnson comes from Michigan State, so Michigan just taking all the rivals, people there. And she worked at Kansas and Purdue before that. You mentioned her sister Jillian is Michigan's second all-time leading rebounder with 862 rebounds. She was on the All Big Ten All Defensive team. She's now an assistant coach, entering her second season with the program. So the sisters teaming up at the University of Michigan as well. And I know Jillian put out a tweet, a kind of a cryptic tweet that she said she was very excited, had a great day the other day. I don't think she could say why yet because the hire is not official. But certainly I think that's a really cool thing for those two to work together. And she'll work closely with Scott Goldschmidt, who was the director of operations, now senior assistant athletic director for football ops. And a reminder that she replaces Christina DeRider as the director of ops. She spent a couple months in that role before leaving for the Los Angeles Chargers. So to rattle off several facts there, because I know we jumped the gun and just started talking about Ohio State to Michigan pipeline. But it is interesting. You bring up, this did happen, like you said, with Greg Madison and Al Washington going from Michigan to Ohio State just before Ryan Day's first season. Now Sharon Moore's first year. Michigan's kind of in the driver's seat in the Big Ten, and he's poaching from there. So it's just probably a coincidence, certainly, but there's kind of a shift, I think, in just the way. And by the way, everyone thought at that point going into 2019 that Michigan was going to take over the Big Ten. They were picked to win the Big Ten that year. It didn't work out. Ohio State stayed on top and won 2 straight Big Ten titles in 19 and 20. Everyone's kind of predicting Ohio State now to take over in the Big Ten again, and Michigan is saying we're still here. And I guess their own staff members are saying to a certain extent that Michigan's still here. We might want to go work for them.
There are a lot of parallels there, right? I mean, that 2019, Michigan gets destroyed by Ohio State in 2018, and Urban Meyer retires. And people are like, yes, finally, the wicked wizard of Ohio State football is gone. And to a certain extent, I think that there are now Ohio State fans that will go to their graves saying that there's no way that Jim Harbaugh and Michigan could have possibly beaten them the last 3 years without cheating. So there's like that aspect of it now. But I'm telling you, if those people down there just think that because Jim Harbaugh left, because they lost all these guys, that there's just going to be a switch that gets flipped and we're bringing everyone back and the band's back together, we're running it back. I'm telling you, man, there are a lot more parallels to that 2019 Michigan team with this Ohio State group than I think some people realize. And again, do I expect this Ohio State team to be better than 9-3? Yeah, I do. But just be careful. Like, there's a lot of talk coming from down there. I mean, I feel like every tweet I have has at least one or two asterisk tweets attached to it, cheaters tweets attached to it. Like, just a lot of talk and a lot of hubris coming from down there, despite the last 3 years being what they are. So again, I'm just going to kind of leave it at that. But that's what we've.
Last topic, would the 2024 Ohio State team beat Michigan's national championship team? Please discuss. That was a real podcast topic on the Cleveland.com podcast a couple weeks ago.
It would not be appropriate for me to just put my hand to my mouth and make a fart noise into the microphone, but that's what I think about that type of discourse. That's not even June 13 discourse. That is like Galaxy brain, I'm bored, we're not very creative discourse. So